Welcome to Frame Dropped. In today's episode of Why Do Japanese Games Always Have Titles That Are Way Too Long, we're gonna talk about a little game called Super Dragon Ball Heroes World Mission. If you've heard about the Nintendo Switch exclusive title and want to know what it's about, you've come to the right place. So without further ado, let's go! Super Dragon Ball Heroes is a card-based video game series that has been around for quite a while. It first appeared as an arcade game in 2010 in Japan and spawned several different games, mainly for the Nintendo 3DS, and even its own anime series that takes place after the events of Dragon Ball Super. But the Super Dragon Ball Heroes games were never released in the West, until now. Super Dragon Ball Heroes World Mission is therefore the first game in the franchise that has been released in the West, and it's also exclusive for the Nintendo Switch. But how does this digital card game actually work, and can you compare it to any other Dragon Ball games? Well, at the beginning you have to choose your hero avatar. You can't really customize anything, but you can at least choose from 8 different races. Your avatar, and also every card in the game, has one of 3 battle types: Hero, Elite or Berserker. Each of these types has a different focus regarding attack and defense and so on. But races and battle types can be changed after you level up a bit in the game, so you will be able to try out different styles as the game progresses and don't have to commit to one single type. Now, before we talk about the different modes and what you can do in the game, let's talk about the most important thing, the gameplay. As mentioned, Super Dragon Ball Heroes is a virtual card-based game, which means that you won't be able to fight other characters directly as in the Budokai series. You rather choose cards that do the fighting for you. At the beginning of a fight you choose 7 cards from your overall pool of cards, and these 7 cards will then do the fighting. You can save different decks and there are over 1000 different cards that you can collect, so the possible combinations are pretty much endless. The battlefield might seem pretty intimidating at first, but the basic gameplay concept is really simple. You can position your cards at the front or the back of the field. The cards in the front will attack, but can also be attacked, and the cards in the back will regenerate stamina. So you begin by choosing the attacking characters for this round, and your opponent does the same. The side which has the most overall attack strength goes first. How much of the potential damage someone inflicts to his opponent comes down to a simple Quicktime event. Press the A button when the bar is full. The defender does the same in order to block as much of the attack as possible. After that, the attacker and defender switch roles, the damage is calculated and the next round starts. And that's basically it. Now, of course, there's a little bit more depth in the gameplay. Every card has different abilities, strengths and weaknesses. One card might have a powerful attack, but it might be very difficult to nail the Quicktime event because the bar moves extremely fast. Another card might be relatively weak, but could be very useful because its special attack might be available sooner than the one of everyone else. Special attacks are activated by hero points. You gain 1 point for each 3000 attack strength on the attacking position of the field. And the hero point threshold needed for activating a special attack depends on the card. If you don't recover your characters and just leave them in the attacking area, they could eventually be stunned. That means that your Quicktime event for this character is blocked, so your opponent always wins the fight. If you want, you can also select a skill before starting the fight that might give you the upper hand, or you can select a support skill that activates in a specific round, and characters also have skills attached to their cards that activate when a certain condition is met, and if you use a character more often, he or she might learn new attacks. There's also other stuff such as Dragon Balls that appear in some fights and also change up the gameplay a bit. So you see, the mechanics can get quite deep if you want them to, but believe me, the fighting is still extremely simple in its core, and most of the time it doesn't really matter which cards you choose if you are good at pressing the A button at the right time. That's not too bad, because you are not tied to always using the best cards, and can really build your own Dragon Ball Dream Team, or build a team consisting of only Gokus. Or this. The simplicity might seem as the game's strength at the beginning, but with time you'll also understand that this is also its greatest weakness. The Quicktime events started to bother me after a while, and there are a couple of unique ones tied to specific characters. The problem is that a lot of those were designed for the touchscreen. You don't see that very often with Switch games, and there's a reason why. You can only do them while playing in handheld mode. And sure, luckily there's also the possibility to do all those moves with the analog stick of your controller. But they were obviously designed for the touchscreen. And not only is it much more difficult to complete them while using a controller, but it also just feels awkward to sit on your couch with a Pro Controller in your hands when you suddenly get prompted to touch the card and make an infinity sign as fast as you can. So the game has a kinda tiny open world hub area that is completely useless. Not only because the camera is locked and you can't really see where you're going, but also because all of the locations are much more conveniently available with the touch of a button. Here you have your typical story mode, which is not that bad. It's kinda a what-if storyline where anomalies happen that you need to correct, and which therefore reminds me of the Xenoverse games. Here you'll also encounter the occasional minigame and stuff that changes up the game a bit, instead of just having to fight over and over again. And you also have the arcade mode, which isn't a classic arcade mode, but rather a collection of different fights ranging from very easy to very hard. In these two modes you'll earn items, money and tickets, which can be exchanged for new cards in the card shop. You even have the option of creating your own cards and your own missions, which is pretty neat to say the least. So do I recommend Dragon Ball Heroes World Mission? Well, that's a tough decision to be honest. It doesn't seem like a game that's extremely polished, and the graphics remind me of up-res Budokai games from the PS2 era, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but might put off some people. There are really a ton of activities to do in this game, so the content is there, and with over 1000 cards to collect, you'll probably have fun if you are a Dragon Ball fan. But the simplicity of the core gameplay gets repetitive after a short while, and it all comes down to this stupid Quicktime Events. They are not difficult at all, but because of that it also kind of feels like a win isn't really earned, if you know what I mean. And that's a shame, because there are enough complex mechanics in the game that really have potential for an exciting experience if they just would have taken out the Quicktime Events. I would therefore say, if you are a hardcore Dragon Ball fan, at least try it. Chances are you might really enjoy the game with all the different characters, modes and a story mode that can be quite fun. But if you're not that into Dragon Ball, this game probably isn't for you, because you won't have fun just because of the gameplay. But what do you think? Have you played Super Dragon Ball Heroes and want to share your opinion? Would you like to play the game now, or are you even more skeptical than before? Tell us in the comments below, and please make sure to like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video and would like to see more content in the future. Until then, see you next time.